Hello, welcome to the Business Awards Show. I'm Debbie Gilbert, the host of the Business Awards Show and also the owner of the Best Businesswomen Awards. And today I am joined by Gitanjali Trevorrow-Seymour, who is an executive coach, and her business is High Definition You. And she is hot off of the awards winning trail because she has just won Best Coach in the Best Businesswomen Awards. Welcome, Gita.
Thank you. There it is, right there, pride of place, next to my finalist ones. But yeah, it's still a bit surreal, actually, Debbie. It's like, oh, that was me. That was my name that was called.
That was amazing. So I think what we need to start off with, you've had this business for 10 years. So let's start at the very beginning. So what made you set up the business? What made you want to be a coach?
Very good place to start. I promise I won't sing all the way through. What made me want to be a coach? It was actually by accident, which is what I often say to clients now, is that listen to the people that are saying to you, you should try this, that you could say, oh, how could I do that? Or why would anyone pay me to do that? So I'd had 15 years in banking. I was not responsible for the global financial crisis, just to say that wasn't me, not my bad. I was in middle to back office, although I did start in the sales role in banking. And I was head of a particular area for the EMEA region at the time, and all of the heads of the regions got cut and it was centralized back to the States. And it was one of those cliched moments of, now I'm all grown up, what do I want to do? Having previously followed my passion, which was trained and worked as an actress. So that was life number one. Life number two was banking. And a friend of mine said, you should look at coaching and leadership development, to which I said, well, what have I got to say about that? And why would anybody pay me to say anything? Massive year of self-doubt, literally turning down work.
But do you think she'd spotted something in you that made her suggest that to you? So you'd obviously been, she'd spotlighted you as a bit of a leader.
There was something, I'd been a leader in my career, but the thought of actually coaching other leaders and then doing, because we do coaching and training at High Definition. So then running training programs and leadership development programs, I just thought, well, that's not me. But it was one of those, and this is why I say it to clients all the time now, is just listen to I call it sort of your own wisdom and the whispers of the universe that are coming your way that might make you feel uncomfortable. And bearing in mind, we talk a lot in my business with clients about confidence. I did not feel confident. That wasn't something I felt that I could do. So I did what a lot of particularly female leaders do, whether you're running your own business or you're still in corporate. And that was go and get more credentials. Go get credentials before I charge anyone anything.
But I want to stop you there just briefly for a moment, because coaching is an unregulated industry, is it not? Yeah. And this is where people can just spring up and go, oh, I'm a coach. Yeah. And you didn't. You went ahead and got a proper qualified coaching, diploma, or I don't know, tell everybody what you got. Yeah. What was your...
So it was quite an intense year, actually. It was through the Academy of Executive Coaching. And I'm very, very grateful that I did it. There was no chance I wasn't going to, but I knew that I didn't want to bluff it, and certainly it's people's lives and careers and mindset and performance that are then in my hands. So the last thing I wanted to do was just blag it. And it was a brilliant experience, incredibly robust. There was a big exam, several exams along the way. We had to talk about our coaching methodology. And actually, I remember, so I'm a big fan of chocolate, let's just say that. But my coaching methodology in my exam written and the presentation the model was around the everlasting gobstopper.
Oh, really?
In the chocolate factory. So the idea being that there's multiple flavors, and at any different time, you're tasting something different, but the experience is continuous. And it's not depletive in any way. So you're continuing to experience the gobstopper, but the journey and the growth. And I didn't really know how much that meant to me until recently. And I listened to Pure Imagination from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I have been singing that song to my kids since they were born. Little did I know, I won't go into it now, but re-listen to that. And what I realized is that's deeply at the heart of the work that we do, not just me, but my coaches in the world, in terms of helping people to transform their lives and their experience of this experience.
So got the coaching qualification, Then what
Yep.
did you do?
Still had a lot of self-doubt and saying no. And, can I coach at that level? Can I do that training program? Can I deliver that on my own? I partnered with people early on. That's also something that I definitely advise when you're in that level of self-doubt. Not that you need it, but that was an interesting experience. And then I mean, it's been 10 years, but I really only feel like in the last 3 years that I could really say that I had a business, that I have, and actually awards probably play a part of that, that I was an entrepreneur, because it was really me for the majority of the time. And I had associates working for me when I had global contracts with some of the banks, but it was predominantly me. And now I have a team. Now I look at it as a business rather than it's me delivering this stuff and how much will they pay for me and how much will I charge? All that stuff that goes through your head when you're making those decisions, when you're used to, as I was, being paid a salary in corporate, and a bonus, which was kind of like, oh, if I do this, I might get a bonus. But actually, when it's up to you and you're running your own business and you're calling the shots, as you well know, as your listeners do too, I'm sure, those kind of decisions can be quite crippling.
So what's the next steps for High Definition You? Where do you see the business going?
Well, I'm very, as you well know, very passionate about what we do. And I don't know where it came from a couple of years ago, but I had this moment of wanting to somehow, I don't know how, impact 1 billion with a B lives in my lifetime. If it doesn't happen in my lifetime, that's also okay. So where to for us is really creating, well, I'm calling it democratizing coaching, because what I saw in my career and what I've seen as an executive coach, and then my coaches coach more middle management, entrepreneurs who have a certain size team, is that level of coaching one-to-one is only really available at a certain level for a certain budget. And that really peeves me off. I'm not going to swear on the podcast, but when you know the difference that it can make in somebody's life, personally as well as professionally, to themselves, their families, their balance, their sanity, their motivation, their sense of reward, their sense of meaning, personally and professionally, there's this thing inside me that has wanted to take the business in a direction where we're able to then create coaching access for all, at all age, at all stage, at all level, across industry, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a manager or just starting out in a corporate career. So that's really where we're going. We still have one-to-one executive coaching, one-to-one leadership coaching underneath that. We still run our training programs, which are incredibly impactful and we adore, not just because well-being and emotional agility has been big, but all of the other ones around brand and communication, around impact and influence, productivity, motivation, leadership, culture, all the things that we know are crucial. But actually this piece is really very close to my heart right now. So how can we say to anyone that's listening that you have access to coaching? So we're launching our Inner Circle, which until now has been an invitation only, very, very small. You had to have had one-to-one coaching. So we're opening that up right now, actually in a month, end of this year. I don't know when this will go out, but in December 2021. And that for me is going to fulfill that, will go towards fulfilling that mission of giving people the coaching and the community that I know, not just for myself professionally, but from my own experience of having a coach and my own coaching community. It changes everything.
Brilliant. I shall look forward to seeing the details for that. Sounds very exciting.
It's your way.
Now, next, let's talk about business awards, because this is what the podcast is all about. So I really want to take you back to 2018, 2019, somewhere around then, when you first decided to enter business awards. What was the thought process behind that? Why did you put that onto your radar?
Well, it was a good friend of mine, Karen Campbell, actually, that, again, it's a bit like, now that I'm saying it the first time, sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should look at entering awards. It's a bit like my friend Alyssa, who said, you should look at coaching and leadership development. And I had the same reaction, funnily enough, of like, oh, who am I to have an award or enter an award? And what would I have to say on that award entry? So it's really quite similar, but taking my own advice, I listened and I thought, okay, well, let's have a look at it. Curiosity underlies everything at high definition news. I'm like, well, okay, I'm curious. Let's have a look. And actually, having said that, I really was starting to take myself seriously. It really did coincide with that, because what it did for me when I looked at it was it made me look at my business as a business. Rather than, oh, I'm saying yes to this, I'm doing that, we're doing this great work with that, with AIG or with Northern Trust, with all these companies, but actually I'm a business. And when I first looked at the form, I was like, oh my God, how will I answer these? And what would I say? And putting some of that female, again, obviously we work with both genders, but particularly at senior female leadership level, some of those, what I call rabbits jumping around saying, oh, well, don't boast about things you're doing. Don't be too big headed. That was an interesting process for me through that first application. But it wasn't done, to answer your question, with a strategic element of I'm now going to start entering awards. It was a tap on the shoulder of like, you should look at this. Then I added curiosity plus a whole lot of courage. That is also a big part of high definition you to the mix. And then another element of high definition is to just done is better than perfect. So I said, okay, let me do this. And I say this to people all the time, the process, like, thank you so much for having these awards, because the process of reflection, of looking at, oh gosh, what do we do for clients and how do we change lives? And what is our voice and what is our message and what do clients say and what are our numbers and what is our market? It was really like, took me back to my banking days of kind of a SWOT analysis.
It is definitely doing an award entry really is a 360-degree review of your business.
Yeah. And I sent it off and I had no idea how many entries there were. And I just thought, well, I've done it. Didn't expect to hear anything. And then I was a finalist.
You were?
Straight off. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing.
I think with 2 categories in 2019.
And that was the other thing. Is, my operations director, was looking at the other categories, because obviously best coach was like best coach. And she said, what about most inspirational businesswoman? Right. Again, it was like, oh, really? Like, would I? And so we did. Again, we just said, okay, well, we never say what's the worst that can happen at high definition. We say what's the best that can happen.
I love that saying. What's the best that can happen? Yes. That's a great saying.
Always BPO, best possible outcome. So we entered, and I was a finalist in that in 2019, and then in 2020 I was a finalist in both of them.
Exactly, but you were also a finalist in the National Businesswomen Awards as well, which is another awards program. And what was that for? What categories were that?
That was for best coach, and actually it was they don't call it most inspirational businesswoman. Yes, I think they do. Most inspirational businesswoman, and the same again this year actually. So
you'd had 2 years of entering awards and being finalist or winner. What made you do it for a third time? Like, some people start to think, oh, well, I'm never going to win because I'm always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's the saying that someone once said to me about awards. What made you do it again for a third time?
So in my acting career, I failed, and we talk about failure a lot at high definition, and one of the reasons I know that I failed, and it wasn't because of talent, because I was top of my class at drama school, and that's not said in an arrogant way, it's said in a kind of let's look at the reality of this, is one of the things that I lacked was tenacity and determination and self-belief. So again, eating my own cooking, I was like, okay, well, we could just say it's done and it didn't happen and that's okay. But there is a level of tenacity that goes with, and I say it to my kids all the time, like T for tenacity. And again, it wasn't I'm going to keep going until I win. It was what's the best possible outcome? Like, what's the best thing that could happen? And also, again, to the idea of the SWOT is it did make us pause after a pretty critical year for everyone and say, actually, let's look at this again, because the last 2 years, it was never the same entry, but, there were relatively stable circumstances. Then it's like, well, actually, let's look at the business again. And with this light shining on it of this award lens, and it was an opportunity to do that. And by then it was less of the, oh, make it all exactly and put this and that. So it felt so much faster as well. And I will say that to people, if you're thinking about entering the award, it might feel like any awards, hard work the first time, because you're pulling all of that information together. You're second guessing as possibly, what you're saying and which testimonial and things like that. But then actually the second time was a little bit easier. And then the third time again, each time you're pulling in new, testimonials or products, in our case of services that we're offering. But it was just with the idea that let's just keep going and see what happens. I mean, of course, I have always practiced thank you for my Oscar, since I was a kid. So there was still that oh, maybe this will be my year. And
how did it feel when your name was called?
Oh, it's surreal. Honestly, Amy, who is my coup, came with me. Tim, my husband's come to the last couple of years of various awards, but she came this year. And I mean, Gitanjali Trevorrow-Seymour, growing up, whenever there's a pause right before something like a school roll or anything like that, I'm like, oh, it's me. Like, they can't say my name. And Mindy, marvelous Mindy Gibbons-Klein, was presenting it. And funnily enough, she had been at our table, so I knew she knew my name.
She didn't know you'd won, though.
No. But I
did practice.
Exactly. So when there was a pause, I'm like, oh, could it be? Yeah, literally just been, oh, she knows my name. So when there was a pause, it was one of those childhood moments of I think it's me. It's me. And then I said to Amy afterwards, I'm so sorry. When I win an Oscar one day, I clearly am not going to turn to Tim and kiss him, because I just ran up to the stairs. Didn't even turn to thank her. She is integral to the success of the business now. I don't know how I ran it for 7 years without her, but, or grew it for that matter. So it felt so just delicious and delightful and kind of humbling and exciting and one of those sort of surreal moments in your life where you go, oh yeah, and no one can take it away from me. I
get it. Absolutely, it's a title that you will always have.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that listen to our podcast are business owners themselves, and one of the things we like to share on here is a couple of nuggets of advice as you've run your business for 10 whole years. If someone's maybe struggling a little bit in their business right now or needing a bit of added inspiration, is there anything you'd love to share?
Well,
just a couple of things.
Oh yeah, you're like, here we go. She's got a 30-minute speech ready to go. A couple of things. One is take note of how much time you're spending in the future and how much time you're spending in the past.
That's a good piece of advice. We've not had that one before. That's really good.
Yeah, and what you want to do is have the major percentage be in the present.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
If you're really analytical with your business, you can do a whole graph of what is the percentage of my thinking time in the future and the past, but even bringing awareness to that and then dropping down into the present. Mm-hmm. And you can do that simply by being grateful, brings you into the present moment. And the second, if I can only have two, you're so mean to me. The second is something I really, I practice everything that I and we preach, but actually I just boiled some eggs downstairs, so it's quite pertinent, is the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg.
Oh, yeah, good.
It's not the circumstances that are going to make the difference in your business or your life. It's what you're made of. And that, whoever is listening to this, that is completely 100% in your control, what you're made of. And that's the wondrous journey that we get to go on as business owners, to discover who we are and the wisdom that we uniquely, never to be born again, are going to bring into this world.
Oh, wow, that's lovely. That's a really lovely thing to share with everybody. Finally, if people are thinking of entering business tours, they've never done it before, and they're sitting there thinking, is this right for me? I don't know what to do. What would your advice be to them?
Speak to someone who has done it before. If you look at it cold, it might feel overwhelming. and buy them a cup of coffee or an espresso martini if it's me and it's espresso martini, people. And have a chat with them, because it's like the Wizard of Oz. It will just pull back the curtain so you can see actually it's not all mystical and magical. There is a way to do it, and it doesn't have to be scary.
Brilliant advice. Lovely.
Do it. Don't procrastinate on it. I hate the Nike slogan of just do it, but
what's your saying? Share it with everybody at the end. Close off. What was the saying that you came up with earlier? What's the best thing that can happen?
The best thing that can happen.
The best thing that can happen. And you think about the worst thing.
Exactly. Yeah. What's the best thing? And it might just be that you get to know yourself and your business a little bit better.
Yeah, I think if that, to me, is one of the most valuable exercises of entering awards. I was rejected the first year over into Business Awards, didn't get anywhere, got the rejection letter, because it was letters in those days. And I felt crushed. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm obviously a terrible business person. And just a conversation with somebody else who knew me, who actually was very involved in the awards industry and wrote business award entries and all sorts. And she was like, I bet you didn't mention this, and this, did you? And I was like, no, I didn't. And she was like, right, you've just got to put yourself out there again and make sure you get down to that detail and mention all of these other things that you do and all these other things that you've achieved. Because we often shortchange ourselves, don't we?
And that's also part of, through each of our entries, you're then going to your clients and saying, hey, what is it? What's changed? And it's a great opportunity to firstly build your bank of testimonials, but also to hear the stuff that you don't yet know, that someone in that way that I was, like, taps you on the shoulder and say, hey, yeah, but you're doing this. And how about that? Because we're so deep into things in our business that we don't always take time to pause and celebrate the great stuff. And it can pass us by so quickly. So entering an award makes you pause. This is what it did for me anyways, pause. And bearing in mind that that's one of our C's facets at High Definition is celebrate, and celebrate it, not because I was finalist or a winner, but actually just celebrate what it is that we're doing, and doing that, as you said, with someone else. And there are people, Karen was there in the first year to help us with the award the entry. So there's people that can help you with that. But it takes you taking the first step and knowing that if you get the metaphoric letter, the actual, the rejection in an email these days, that the boiling water is the boiling water, but it doesn't change who you are.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, 100%. So thank you for leaving us on that really positive note. It's been great talking to you today, Gita, and we wish you every success in the future. I think you're up for another award this year before the award.
I am. Yeah, it's this Friday is the
when's the final? Friday? Is it Friday?
It's Friday the 19th. Yeah, so
how exciting. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed for you.
Make some space. I'm just saying.
Brilliant. Well, good luck with that, and thank you for joining us today. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Debbie.